This is one of the driest places on Earth, a stretch of coastal Peru so barren that scientists use it as a stand-in for Mars. Some weather stations here have never recorded a single drop of rain. That is only half the story. 9 million years ago, this exact spot was the deadliest ocean that ever existed, a sea ruled by a dynasty of monster predators, so violent it makes our modern oceans look like a quiet pond. The proof is buried under your boots, giant bones, teeth the size of your hand, a whole drowned world turned to stone. How do you kill an entire ocean and leave a desert in its place? To answer that, you do not dive. You walk into the desert and read the ground. This codex opens on one place, the Pisco Formation, a strip of Peruvian desert where an entire ocean lies, fossilized in a single piece. Its hunters, its giants, and the prey caught between them. Not one famous monster, the whole food web, preserved together. 3 things hide in this stone: what lived here, how we know, and what force was strong enough to kill all of it. Today we read a whole sea from the ground it became. Before we go anywhere prehistoric, look at Peru today. A cold current runs up its coast, the Humboldt. It drags deep water to the surface, and that water carries food. It is one of the richest fishing grounds on Earth right now. It feeds anchovy by the millions, and the seabirds and sea lions that live off them. 9 million years ago, the same current fed something far larger. In the late Miocene, that same upwelling fed a shallow sea over what is now the Pisco Desert. Cold, nutrient-loaded water rose into the sunlight, and the plankton exploded. Small fish ate the plankton. Whales ate the fish. The richer the current ran, the larger the animals it could feed. This was no blue tropical paradise. It was a cold, gray, ferociously productive sea, an all-you-can-eat buffet that pulled in the biggest eaters on the planet. The cast is almost too much for one sea. Otodus Megalodon, the largest shark that ever lived, 15 to 18 meters long, heavier than a city bus. Livyatan melvillei, a sperm whale rebuilt as a predator, around 14 meters, with teeth 36 centimeters long, the largest biting teeth of any animal we know. Aquarium, a smaller raptorial whale, fast and sharp-toothed, and the animal they all wanted, Pisco balena, a baleen whale only about 5 meters long, the cattle of this sea. For decades, the documentary cliché has been simple. Megalodon ruled this ocean alone. That only works if you ignore the Livyatan skull from Cerro, Colorado. 2 of the largest predators in the history of the sea lived here at once. They hunted the same whales. Both were warm-bodied enough to chase prey through cold water. Neither could afford to lose. And they were not even alone. A dozen smaller hunters fed in their shadow. Every animal in that list is now lying in the same desert, not scattered across the world, packed into the same few square miles of rock. Why did a sea this crowded ever fall silent? Become a paleontologist for a moment. Kick at the dust, and a shape comes up. A single tooth, thicker than your wrist, its serrated edge still sharp. A few steps away, a vertebra the size of a dinner plate. Look closer, and the ground is paved with them. Teeth, bone shards, broken jaws, wherever the wind has stripped the sand back. The desert is not empty, it is full, just beneath the surface. There is a problem with reading a dead ocean. Most of an ocean leaves nothing behind. Bodies rot, bones scatter, and the sea erases its own record. The Pisco Desert is the rare exception, and the reason is strange. The upwelling that fed the sea is also what buried it. Blooms of diatoms, single-celled algae armored in glass, rained down so fast and so thick that they sealed carcasses on the seafloor before scavengers could finish them. Carlos de Selma and colleagues mapped these beds in 2017, layer by layer. The Pisco Formation is not one graveyard but many, stacked across roughly 10 million years. Bury a body fast enough, and the rot never wins. Most documentaries skip the boring part, the dirt. Yet the dirt is the whole story. Whales here come out whole, the skeletons still in one line, sometimes with skin outlines and stomach contents preserved. This is not a handful of lucky bones. One site holds dozens of whales in a single bed, a mass death frozen mid-scene. It is a sea photographed in stone, frame by frame, and the photographs record what these animals did to each other. The rock holds something stranger than skeletons. It holds the hunts. That dinner plate vertebra was not pristine. It was scarred with deep gouges, the unmistakable signature of a bite. In 2017, Alberto Collaretta and colleagues described a small baleen whale, a piscobalena, pulled from these beds with tooth marks raked across its bones. The spacing and shape of the cuts matched the teeth of a giant shark, Megalodon, or its close relative. The prey and the predator's signature were locked into the same piece of rock. The match was not a guess. The marks were measured against the teeth of animals found in the same beds, and they fit. Think about how rare that is. A fossil usually tells you an animal existed. This one tells you it was hunted. Here, the honest scientist has to stop and hedge. A bite on a bone can be a kill, or it can be a meal stolen from an animal already dead. We often cannot tell the two apart, and the researchers say so plainly. Either way, the desert kept the receipt. What this place preserves is not only animals, it is the relationships between them. Who ate whom, written into the bone. And the bitten whale is not alone. Seals, fish, dolphins, even other sharks turn up here, scarred and broken. This was not a calm aquarium of giants, politely keeping their distance. It was a working food web under constant pressure, and the pressure left marks. Pull back from any single giant, and you start to see the shape of the whole thing. Every animal, both a hunter and, to something larger, a meal. A monster on its own is a trophy. A monster in its food web is a story. Here's the part scientists can't fully explain. A sea this rich should be hard to kill. And yet, within a few million years, the giants were gone. The reign of the monsters was not ended by a bigger monster. It was ended by a change in the weather. Two slow forces closed in. The end of the Miocene cooled the planet. Ice locked up water at the poles, sea levels fell, and the warm, shallow shelves where small whales fed and bred began to shrink. At the same time, the Andes were rising, as the Nazca Plate ground beneath South America, reshaping the whole coastline. The nurseries the food web stood on were closing from below and from the side at once. In 2022, Jack Cooper and colleagues rebuilt Megalodon in 3 dimensions and found it was not only the largest shark ever, but warm-bodied for its size, an engine that burned a punishing amount of energy. Their model suggests it needed close to 100,000 calories every single day. A warm giant in a cooling, emptying sea is a furnace running low on fuel, and it had company it did not want. Smaller, sharper sharks, the ancestors of the great white, were moving into the same grounds. They did not need a giant's ration to survive. The mightiest jaws are no defense against a sea that stops feeding you. The deadliest ocean, then, did not end in one catastrophe. It starved, slowly, from the bottom up. The specialists went first. Then the giants that needed the most to keep going. The sea did not simply vanish. As the giants disappeared from the fossil record, Livyatan first, then Megalodon, by around 3.5 million years ago, the basin itself was being lifted out of the water. Robert Bosenecker and colleagues pinned that date down in 2019. The rising Andes pushed the old seabed into the air. The same mountains, paired with that cold offshore current, threw a rain shadow across the coast and choked off the rain. The floor of the deadliest ocean dried out and became one of the driest deserts on Earth. That is what makes the Pisco Formation unlike almost anywhere else. It did not keep one famous monster. It kept the whole sea at once. The food web turned to stone. Walk the rust-red ground now, and you are walking the floor of the deadliest ocean that ever existed, with its cast still in place. The car-long skull, the forearm teeth still set in the jaw, the small whale with the bite marks raked across its ribs. The smooth white hills are not hills. They are mountains of diatom shells, the plankton that fed the whole thing. No aquarium glass, no museum label, just the sea floor itself, with its dead lying where they fell. There is a quieter clue in that rock too. Catalina Pimiento has shown that Megalodon raised its young in coastal nurseries, shallow, sheltered grounds where the smallest sharks grew up safe. As those shallows dried, the most fragile members of the species would have been squeezed first. It is a hypothesis, not a settled fact, but a haunting one. The largest predator that ever lived may have ended not with the fall of the giants, but with the loss of the young. The cold current that built that ocean still runs off Peru today. It outlived everything it once fed. The water moved on. The hunters did not. The desert kept the whole ocean for us to read. The Pisco Desert is one entry in the Codex. The sea it remembers is only 9 million years old, recent, by the measure of life. Go back far enough, and the giants disappear, the whales disappear, even teeth and bone, as we know them, disappear. 500 million years ago, in a sea with no skeletons in it at all, something became one of the first animals on Earth built to hunt other animals. It chased, it gripped, it ate. It wore its armor on the outside, carried a ring of plates where a mouth should be, and reached ahead with 2 grasping limbs. It looked like nothing alive today, and for its moment, it was the most dangerous thing that had ever existed. What does a predator even look like before there are teeth to build one with, when the very first hunter on Earth is still being invented? Tethys Codex.